So the Dolphins got their first win of the year against the Jets on Monday Night Football, but unfortunately, it came at a price. Tyreek Hill also tore multiple ligaments in his knee, as well as dislocating his knee. So he's out for the season. Kind of just talk about, let's start with the Tyreek Hill injury here, and then maybe we'll move into where exactly the Dolphins go from here, because obviously it's still looking like a season that could potentially be lost.
Yeah, I think this is probably the weirdest carting off I've ever seen in my life, just because of the fact that
Yes.
Tyreek Hill was seemingly ecstatic that he had just lost his whole season, which I don't know if that's what playing with Tua does for you for an extended period of time or what exactly that reaction was. But I genuinely still can't wrap my head around what exactly was going on. I saw some people in the comment sections being like he was just trying to raise his adrenaline so it wouldn't hurt as much and stuff like that. But still, I that just whole scene was so interesting because you go into that commercial break and you're like, man, that's really bad. And then you see the car come out and it's obviously going to be really bad. But I just never seen anything quite like that where he's just smiling the whole way through and clapping and waving to the fans and stuff like that. So just that whole situation was weird. But yeah, that injury is super drastic and possibly Tyreek Hill's explosiveness and his speed is his whole game. Not his whole game, his hands are really good too. But the fact that that could be hampered at all could be really bad for just his career going forward. I don't think that this is. I think this might be the last season that he ends up playing with the Dolphins. But he's still an NFL caliber wide receiver. But how much does that impact him? How sought after is he going into this offseason could be impacted by the fact that teams are at an unknown of what he looks like going into next season. I obviously can't put a finger on what that's going to look like for him moving forward, but I think that could be pretty drastic because tearing a bunch of ligaments in your knee and it facing the wrong direction obviously does not look good for him going forward. So prayers up for Tyreek Hill and just what an interesting scenario because he was definitely one of the drivers of that offense and on an offense that looked pretty good in that Monday Night Football game.
An offense that over the last handful of years, when they're on, there's probably nobody that's better. That offense just has I'm serious, it has a peak, that a lot of offenses don't have that we've seen over the last handful of years. And now, granted, they don't really reach it all that often, but when they do, you notice it. Yeah, sorry, but yeah, I'll go with the perspective for the rest of his career here. I believe he's guaranteed over $70 million still. And yeah, I don't know what that carting off situation was looking like. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. But, because at the end of the day, would you really want to just not play the rest of the season if it meant almost having your leg amputated? Because, he didn't have any, he definitely probably had some nerve damage, but he didn't tear anything or sever anything that would cause that. But he could have. So I don't know if, he was thinking in a way that, he would sacrifice the rest of the year through an injury just to not play. But so I'll give him the benefit of the doubt there. But it was very unusual for him to be such high spirits. I think also too he was very happy. I think that the Dolphins fans were giving him giving him a nice little clap, standing O. Maybe that was it. But yeah, this for the rest of his career, I think that in my opinion. And I know nobody's really asking for it. And I'm not an NFL player, obviously. So I don't know what his finances are looking like. But I think that this is a point where you potentially walk away from the game. Honestly, yeah, I don't really. He's got a Super Bowl ring. He's got hundreds of millions of dollars. He's got guaranteed money still left on his contract. And yeah, you're probably right. He probably won't play another game for the Dolphins. And he's 31 years old, and we probably won't see him again until what? He's 33. I mean, I don't see it being a situation where, or maybe 32. I guess he's born on March 1st. So if he comes back next season, I don't really see a point in him coming back. And you're right, the speed will be hampered. Although he's one of the fastest players that I've seen in-game speed ever. So if he takes a step back, he's still one of the fastest players in the game. So I don't know. I don't know. I think maybe that was it though. I think maybe we saw the last.
Yeah, I don't think so at all. I think that between the personal stuff that he's going through, I
Yeah,
genuinely think
I
that
don't
he
know
might.
specifically how much he's paying, but
Yeah, he might be strapped for money though, because apparently he's getting sued by that same woman and all this different stuff going on in his personal life. I definitely think that he could use a couple more seasons in the NFL, get a couple more dollars. But yeah, he also tore part of it was that he tore his ACL as well. So I don't know exactly how that is gonna look for him going forward, and what his return timeline will be like, if it's gonna be a full year of recovery. But yeah, it's pretty drastic in the like, because he tore like they was bordering on like like not. I don't want to make any statements that are too brash, but like I was hearing stuff like about like bordering amputation, which is like
If he
kind
had
of.
severed yeah, you're right. He like tore his ACL among other ligaments. I don't know if they've named like LCL or MCL, which are like the other more common ones. But like whenever I see multiple ligaments in his knee were torn, including the ACL, I'm thinking maybe there's a lot more. There's like some smaller ligaments that potentially are just more uncommon when with like athletic injuries and more common with like dislocations of the knee. When I hear that, and I hear like there are other potential injuries that he could have suffered by dislocating his knee, I know that that means amputation, because he's going to have some like to repair some of the nerves and stuff like that. I'm hoping his surgery goes well. But yeah, like that's what makes this so difficult for him to come back from, is like that specific injury. If he tore his ACL, I mean, dude, people come back so quick. They come back so quick. I hate to just be like, oh, it's automatic, but yeah, he probably would have come back if that was the case. But I think like dislocating the knee like that, dude, that was a scary injury. That was really bad.
Yeah, and maybe pivoting a little bit, because I think
Yeah.
they covered the majority of the base on like what it actually means for his career. But yeah, going forward for like Dolphins, like the Dolphins organization, I genuinely don't know what you do from here, because you don't want to call it a lost season because your top receiver goes out. But like I don't know how like impactful it's going to be to like like as somebody who actively roots for the Dolphins. Like, this team isn't winning the Super Bowl, and this team would be very lucky to get to the playoffs. There's always a path, but like I and you never want to see a team tank the season, but like this could be a genuine situation where if it starts going really south, which they have a couple easy games going forward, so their record could look fine, but like there's a scenario where Mike McDaniel gets fired in the middle of the season. So I which would suck, but at this point I I'm kind of done with this edition of the Dolphins. Like, there is probably a ceiling that was reached that one year that Tua led the NFL in passing yards and was an MVP candidate, and the offense was absolutely humming, and they were like 8-2 at some point. But I don't think that this Dolphins team is that Dolphins team is recreatable for this Dolphins team. I think that Jalen Waddle will probably go somewhere else in the coming seasons, and Tua is. I think that the majority of the people in Miami are leaning more towards Tua out than still leaning in on him.
Yeah, I think it's over too. I think this era, and we had talked about this after week one, essentially was like, are we getting more of this game against that they had against the Colts for the rest of the year? I think we see Quinn Ewers probably start a game at some point this year too. Like, I think that there's going to be a point at the end of this season where it's not a tank. It's just seeing what you got. Maybe they see what they have in an assistant coach, somebody who's in the building and could be a candidate for the head coaching position in the future. I think that that's kind of where this season has gone. And it is really unfortunate because, yeah, they got to win 1-3. And maybe we were saying this before the Tyreek Hill injury, but if they were to sneak into the playoffs, the ceiling for this team is a lot lower without Tyreek Hill. He's so dynamic of a player, and it gets to a point where you can't really make an argument where it was like, oh, if their offense just catches fire in the playoffs, you never know. Like, I understand a lot of people might scoff at that and think that's funny, but like from just an NFL perspective, if you make the playoffs, like that's in your wild card team or a team that's not favored to win the Super Bowl, or you're on the road for all of those games, that's kind of the angle that you need to win a Super Bowl. And
They
that's not
lost that
there.
angle. Yeah.
That's it's not there anymore. And you're like, like we've said, 1-3, lost your best receiver. Tua probably not going to be a franchise guy. And I think it's done. Yeah. 1-3. Call it.